Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and we are just 1 week away from the formal launch of the Battle Spirit Saga card game here in North America. I did go to the launch event last month, and it was really cool just to see, people playing the game in person and everything else, and that's only going to be exponentially more once the game gets actually released here next week. So really excited for that, and kind of for the occasion of it as well. I did want to do a tier list based on kind of what we saw on the release events and just everything else for anyone trying to get into this card game, and just kind of where kind of archetypes and cards and stuff sit there too. And if anyone's new here to the channel, I do run an event-based kind of archive website just to go over meta and everything else. So if you guys haven't checked it, go to Eggman Events, which is linked in the description as well. It has all of the deck lists and breakdowns for all of the launch events and other events that's been happening around the world. So if you guys wanted to see some of these deck lists, see what finished and everything else, as well as the archetypes-based deck list. So you guys just care about archetypes and you just want deck lists based on that. It has a couple based on here, based on these launch events too. So really good resource for anyone wanting to get into the game. I think the deck building for this game is really rewarding, but a little bit intimidating to get into. So I think these are great resources for anyone just trying to play and get a feel for the game in general. So again, just make sure to check that out. Anyways, we're going to go over these archetypes down here. I think these are, it's been kind of tricky for a couple things. One, since this game is really open in its deck building, it's kind of hard to categorize decks as one archetype or the other. So, and then additionally, it's hard to really know what's going to be viable when we didn't really have any big events to kind of see and get data from as well. So this is going to have a little bit more data off of it. I did make a previous tier list kind of going into the launch events, but we're going to just have it based on winners from events. Runner-ups are just kind of close in the top 4, top 8, top 32s, and kind of top 28 for everything else. I did kind of, in my previous one, go over individual colors and archetypes too, so I can actually delete it from tier makers. So they're just chilling in this bottom row for you guys to know. In general, I think pretty much red, purple, white all have really strong archetypes. Yellow, you're going to see, is going to be a little bit failing right now, but that's kind of where we're jumping into. So we're going to be ranking these archetypes based on color as well. We're going to start off with the Zackery Nova, the kind of poster boy for the first set in general, and kind of the card game because of that too. But we're going to put him in the runner-up. There were a lot of people playing this deck, but it didn't win any of the events around the world. And so I think it's just very strong for what it is. I think it's also just a really great first starter, a deck for people to get into. Red has some of the best good cards in the game, like Blessed Draw. We also have Burning. It just, like, all the cards are very good in red in general. It has a lot of cycle and a lot of destruction, and it's just kind of like, I would say, almost like the gatekeeper for a good deck in this game. It's just very strong and consistent, has a lot of kind of flexibility for its slots and everything else, and just tends to be very strong. So I'm going to put it here. I think the deck is a good spot as well, and it's just a really good deck. I think I think part of the reason it did so well is because there are so many people on the deck that it was almost impossible for it to not top a lot of these events too. Because I think it just topped. Yeah, you can just see, like, by some of these too, that it got a lot of topping around the world too in North America. So that is kind of like the idea there. I think it's a really great deck for people just getting into the game, and a little bit straightforward for deck building and playing there. So we're going to put that one there. And then also Pterosaur, we're going to put this here. I honestly think Pterosaur is better than the Seagworm build, though. Make sure to check out the interview I did for our second place here in North America. Decklist is also on here too with Alex Blandon. So just very, very good deck. And you'll notice that, like, only North America was playing this deck too. It was a really kind of surprise in my mind too, where I think a lot of players just were working together trying to build the deck as best they could, and it's actually quite the tear. I think it's probably the best deck in the game right now. It got second in North America, and I don't think anyone else around the world kind of was on the spice. But I think this is going to kind of move up to, like, the top tier pretty soon on release, just based on our results so far. It's right here, but it's a very strong deck. And I think it's very aggressive for what it is, and maybe a problem. We'll figure that out pretty soon in a couple weeks, but a very, very strong deck too. I think it's probably, like, the better red deck to play, but there we go. Then we kind of have purple. We kind of have three archetypes. We have kind of more generic, like soul core, or like soul control, or like the core control kind of variants for purple. We have like the curse builds, and then we also have the aggressive builds as well. So we're gonna go into the curse, or not the curse, the soul control version of it, and it's very good. Curse Dragon is a very, very strong card, and it's strong enough that some decks that don't even run purple decide to kind of tech this in a lot of ways. It's very great for what it is. You can obviously set up some combos where you put everything to 1 with the Archduke, and then you get to just remove everything. So great, helps you with also not only removal but gaining like additional cores to do some ramping of your own. And it's a very, very scary card to play. Like, your opponent can play around it, but man, the fact that they have to play around a card like this is very strong in its own right. So it did win, I think, 2 of the tournaments there. It's a very, very strong deck, and it's probably the best one in purple right now. I do say that there is a lot of ways for you to play around it, though, and there is already kind of like counters to the removal from this deck. Specifically in white, which I think white is in a good spot. We'll talk about it in a little bit more. But man, it is a very, very kind of good, strong deck there. Next, we have the Purple Curse, and I think I put this in like the runner-up. I might need to put it down in top 32. I think I got to put it back in top 32. It's a really interesting kind of idea. And again, purple in general, purple just has a lot of great cards that you run, and it's kind of hard to mend and meld which ones are in which archetypes, but we did have a couple that were more based on just the curse mechanic and also running Maduke for the additional benefits from it. When I kind of had like this like kind of anti like bell curve where when I started playing, I like Maduke's not very good, I don't really like it. Or I really liked it to where I didn't like it anymore. And now I'm kind of like, you know what, Maduke's actually in a really good spot. And it's one of like the good counters against white, which we'll talk again in a little bit. But it's a really cool card for what it is. I think I need to explore some decks with it a little bit more, but I think it's also very interesting there too. So we're going to put kind of the more curse kind of centric one. And then you also kind of have like more like low to the ground aggro decks for purple too. And I think they're like in the top 32. I think like Pterosaur is better like a low to the ground aggro deck, but it's something to really kind of consider there. You do get a lot of value, and you do have a lot of ways to generate a lot of card advantage for it. So you're not really running out of steam as much as like some of these other aggressive decks can too. So I'm going to put that in top 32, but I think purple aggro is good. In general, purple has a lot of good core cards that you can get the reductions from, and you're in a really good spot. Next up for white, we're going to start with the, we're going to say white control for this, and like just the fact like Elephant also. Elephant's a really good card. Do not sleep on this card. It is a very, very good card in a lot of decks. Even if you're not playing with white, you can definitely tech this into your decks if you want to, and just like another control aspect, because you drop it for 8, and then your opponent just has to play the game differently, or just give you ramp and card draw, which is really, really strong in a lot of ways. Just the fact like it's on the on destruction, but in general, it did win the event here in North America as well. It's just a very good deck for what it is. It's great for again the control aspects. You can get to some board states late game where your opponent just really can't interact with them at all. The fact that you do have like Ice Shield on color is great, and also I think Suppression is a really great card. Like you get an extra copy of Ice Shield there, and the only thing about white in this game right now is that it doesn't have a lot of card draw or cycle. You're kind of at the whim of the cards you do see, so that can be a little bit tricky to get your ratios correctly and find the cards you need when you need them. But when you do, this deck feels just impossible to beat, impossible to interact with, and very, very strong. I might even put this there a little bit above Curse, especially since I think that white has such a really good kind of matchup against purple. It's very, very strong there. And then the white aggression builds, we're going to put it here in top 32. This is honestly not a deck that I really thought would be prevalent as much as it was. I think mostly if I was going to play aggression, I think red or purple are the two that I would choose. But you do get a lot of your good stuff like Derm. Also, it's just a really good like ender for the game if you need just to attack over some of your opponent's cards and make it your stuff unblockable too. So I think that's something you have to do, especially since like most of the cards that white have are overstated for the kind of like the idea that you can play defensive, but like in this game when it's the same number on both sides, it can be defensive or aggressive as well. So do like the aggression deck. I think I put it like as like a meme deck earlier in my like original tier list, but it definitely showed up and definitely a very, very strong deck. So, and then lastly we have the yellow decks, which unfortunately just I feel like there's a good something like a route to play any of these decks here in any of the other colors, but yellow is just not in the same spot, unfortunately. So Fable Beast, we're gonna put here in top 32. I think it's like the only archetype of yellow that's actually, has some ability to do well, being able to get some advantage, being able to have like a kind of big boss monster. The only thing about the Fable Beast decks is that like it doesn't really do as much, right? Like you're able to get like a lot of card advantage at times, but like it's just like you get there and then nothing unfortunately really happens. So I think it's kind of here in top 32. I think only North America I think got any events that had yellow in the top, their topping ones. Yeah, I only got top 8 from around the world because they are a little bit smaller compared to North American's top 32. But yeah, just it's mostly, as again, it's red, purple, and white. There's no yellow, unfortunately. So there's there, and then we have like the 2-drop aggro version of it, which again, I thought that would be like the best deck for a couple of weeks of just like, man, this deck can just spam out a lot of guys. You get a lot of effects from it. Like Cathedral is a really good card for you, but it just never just takes off. Your opponent normally has ways to out all the advantage they get, and since they're just a bunch of small 2K bodies, they're just really outable a lot of the time too. So there's that, and then also I'm pretty sure this card is gonna get better as time goes on. It kind of has to, but just the fact like the yellow kind of also has like an archetype based on all their magic cards and everything, and you being able to use luster to regenerate your magic cards and stuff. And it's just a really interesting archetype, and I'm pretty sure it's going to get support down the line, but it's not there yet. It's just kind of with the card pool as small as it is, and I think that yellow is kind of lacking on a lot of good, strong magic cards. I think it's just kind of here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to take off eventually as we get more sets. It's something you got to keep coming back to and seeing how strong it is, but right now not super strong, and that's kind of how it is for the moment. But here's my quick little tier list. If you guys have skipped to the end, here is my breakdown. I think red, white, and purple I think are honestly, like, this should really be up here. I think if more people were actually online to realize what this deck was, including, like, I did not know this deck existed before the event. It's really good. I think these are the best 3 decks in the game. White control, purple soul control, and a red Pterosaur aggro. I think those are the top 3. I'm going to leave it back down here though, because that's where it landed in our events. But when more people are playing this deck, it's going to definitely top and win events. We also do have like Seagworm. I think this is like a 1.5 tier. It's hard for it to not top with how many people playing it, but it's strong. And we do have a couple purple decks, more of like the curse and more of the aggro. Kind of these are more low to the ground, and again, purple is just a bag of tricks in general. We do also have white aggro, which is, I think, better than I expected, and I think maybe people can try to optimize that as well. Fable Beast is like the only kind of like potential archetype for yellow to be consistent with, I think, moving forward, because the 2-drop aggro and your luster kind of decks aren't really there yet either. So that is my tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions at all or any insights you need or anything, just please let me know. And again, make sure to check out my website for deck list and for event breakdowns and anything else you kind of need for this card game too. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.